For everybody who is new, this is our open mic. We are here because you guys want to see what cool things are being built in the product and hear what we're doing with the product and see Daniel's latest three-dimensional designs. So all three of those things you're able to do here with us today. And we will get it started with George's community updates.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, just abuse me and then we'll roll straight into it. Great. Yes, Daniel and I were at CanITCon this week, which is a great Canadian event. So thank you for all of our partners that stopped by the booth to say hello in person. And for any new folks that are joining this call off the back of some chit chats that we had out in BC. Next week, Rewst is going to be at the CMIT conference down in Phoenix, I believe. So if you're heading there, Jimmy is going to be around. So make sure you stop by and say hello to him. But if you're not doing any traveling next week, you should have a calendar appointment next Thursday for our Rewst webinar. So we have our monthly September webinar. There's actually a panel webinar next week. So we have some folks coming in from Huntress, OpenText, and Dropsuite, and as well our own Nate Specht, all chatting cybersecurity. So that panel is going to focus on how you can automate the various cybersecurity tools that you're using to basically just be better at cybersecurity, to have more efficiencies, less mistakes, and provide better cybersecurity services to your customers. So if you didn't know, we actually have integrations with all three of those different vendors. So we'll be covering some of those. Some are brand new, which we're stoked to share and show, but ultimately it's going to be a conversation sharing some ideas and strategies around cybersecurity and automation. So hope to see you there. That's next Thursday. What date is that? 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I will drop the link in the chat where you can, oh, there it is. Thank you, Jen. So you can get registered. In other news as well, we have some very exciting super secret Discord stuff coming up. So if you have been a long-term Rewst partner, make sure you're checking Discord over the next couple of weeks, because you might get a super special secret message from me asking you to a super special secret channel. That is all that I'm going to say about that very mysterious activity. And with that, we'll wrap up our community update for this week.
Thank you, George. Okay, so now we are going to keep the community vibe going, I think, with our education team now, and we'll jump over to Clea.
Hello, hello. I bet as soon as you said my name, Ash, a few people were like, where is Eddie? I want Eddie back. So huge shout out to Eddie for covering the last few weeks. I got to fully unplug, take a few weeks off, bring my baby girl to visit family back east. And I am back with updates for you. And thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you too. I normally rush through our updates, but what I learned from Eddie is that maybe I shouldn't, because I bet a lot of people here are new to Rewst, Connect University, got some feedback, got some questions, so I'm going to take a little bit more time. Deep breath. Shout outs, as always. These are folks who have taken Rewst Foundations and gotten certified, Clean Automation and gotten certified. That's not all the training that exists in Connect University, so I'm thinking about switching this up and maybe incentivizing people who take all the courses or specific courses, but for now, certification shoutouts. Mike, Jamie, Ralph, Morn, Gerard, the Be-Focused Service Desk, whole team, way to go. Bill, Ethan, Tom, Jacob, Ethan, Tom, Ramon, Ibrahim, and Andrew for Foundations, and Rewst's very own Kyla for getting certified. For Clean Automation, we have Tom, Ibrahim, James, Master, Niels, Cyprian, and Ramon. And from the Rewst side, we have Kyla, Nick, and Craig. Kudos to those folks. Great job. And yeah, also shout out to Andy for letting folks know that we have a troubleshooting course. I know I told you about it. I know other folks have maybe told you about it. Talk more about that course in a sec here. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us 2 ways. Discord, I'm usually pretty slow about replying there, honestly, but I'm on top of our inbox. So clucku@rewst.io reaches me and the team, and we aim to respond in 1 business day. We've got office hours every single Friday. Eddie probably has some voice fatigue because he ran that this morning. And the only thing I'll say about office hours is it's kind of like secret pick Eddie's brain about anything training. So, just show up, ask questions, let Eddie teach you. I do that all the time, and it's one of our best kept secrets. In terms of what we're working on, a lot of new courses behind the scenes. Troubleshooting is one of them. We actually had a testimonial from a customer that I'll paste into the chat after this, but yeah, I can tell you to take the troubleshooting course. Andy can tell you to take the troubleshooting course. Best feedback that we got from a customer was, I've been assigning my level 2 techs a bunch of Cluck University training, and this one course, 40 minutes or less, gives them most of what they need. So go check it out, and thank you to that customer for sharing the feedback. How can you share that feedback? Email us, messenger post, whatever way. There's a lot of data that we have about who's taking what courses in Cluck University, but we also have a lot of gaps. We don't know what we don't know. So any input, good, bad, indifferent. I wish there was a course on this. Why don't you teach this? We want to hear from you. We want to make Cluck University better. We've got a lot of updated documentation. The one that I want to shout out specifically is the Microsoft Cloud Integration Bundle. So we know people going through onboarding. It can be a lot to set up that bundle and all the Microsoft stuff. So new and improved documentation. We also have some new videos in our course in Cluck University. If you're me, you've memorized the Cluck University URL. If you haven't, maybe you will now. It is learn.rewst.io. Onboarding is all about getting set up in the platform. And that Microsoft Cloud course has these 2 new videos and links to our latest, greatest documentation. You can save a course for later, collect them all like Pokemon cards, catch up when you have some time. You'll see those courses in your saved list right at your profile in the top right. And you can see that, yeah, I should follow my own advice and finish the courses I registered for. But that is it from us this week. Let us know if you have any questions. I'll share that testimonial for troubleshooting in the chat along with the course link. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Clea. I think that you sounded great, and there was a lot of time to breathe, and I should take a lesson from you and Eddie too, but probably not today, because I will keep talking really fast. But we will jump over to Daniel, George too. Maybe not George too. It was Charles too. There was one that they didn't. Anyways, we'll move on to Daniel now.
Hey everybody, back from CanITCon. It was wonderful. Got some great feedback. I learned something new every single time I go to a conference and immerse myself in the community. And just one of the biggest pieces of feedback, one of the biggest positive pieces of feedback I heard was just the how involved our community is and how willing everybody is to help. And it's just very inspiring. So not only from open mics every Friday, but just in Discord, you guys help us out so much with troubleshooting, sharing your workflows, all that fun stuff. Also, just to touch on the Microsoft documentation, that was such a collaborative effort, internally and externally. Microsoft at the best of times is difficult to understand. But yeah, thanks to everyone who got those Microsoft docs updated and videos done, training done. So for this week, our engineering team was actually on site doing a little bit of brainstorming and figuring out how we can deliver more value more quickly as a team. So we were a bit light this week. We had a few infrastructure items that were released that are not part of this, just to help us deliver more quickly. We did fix one bug that is some broken links on suborgs in the workflow execution widget on the dashboard. So that was completed. Our next few releases are going to be quite exciting. So we have a whole bunch of stuff that's coming soon. RoboRewsty is obviously still coming up, and we'll have some very exciting announcements to talk about in the coming weeks. And then we have a few integrations as well as some more dashboard updates that we're working on. But yeah, make sure you attend the next at least two, probably, well, attend every open mic, but the next two you probably won't want to miss. So that's all I have for this week.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So now we will jump over to JP, who is going to give us our marketing update today. Not marketing, our marketplace update.
Concerned me for a minute.
He was like, wait a minute. Oh, what am I doing?
I'm not prepared for that one. All right. So this week we had a number of bug fixes. One thing I did want to shout out was we've been working on adding a lot of enhanced logging and messaging in the onboarding workflow. So we did like that with 17. As you all know, it's a very large workflow. So we did that with like 17 different workflows. So they have better debugging, so to be more verbose as we're doing stuff with those, and that information obviously gets communicated through the PSA ticketing, which is nice. Also added some looks like some success aliases, which that's basically has to do with our automated testing. So whenever we're making changes, we have a system that runs through and does some onboardings and offboardings just to make sure that things didn't break along the way, which have been really helpful. I think that's it for Marketplace. Again, just lots of bug fixes and tweaks here and there.
Thank you, JP. All right, so now we are going to jump over to Lucas, who it's been a bit since we've had you demo, so I'm excited, and welcome back, Lucas. Do you want to give us a little bit of an update on what you're going to show us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can hear you, yeah.
So I'm actually not showing a single automation today, but more an option that you could leverage within automations. Something that comes up frequently in discussions I have with various MSPs, and even came up in the Coop the other day, was leveraging various resources like Azure tables or databases for different caching needs. There's pros and cons to all of them, and blockers people run into. And one that I don't see come up very often is Supabase. It's definitely more well known if you're toting the line of a developer, I suppose, but it's basically a hosted DB with a lot of backend services you probably won't leverage if you're building workflows and using it for caching, but they do have a fairly generous free tier. And the big part I wanted to kind of show is basically its ability to integrate with Rewst via the custom integrations. Let me go ahead and share out my screen. So if you're not familiar, what happens with Supabase when you create a DB table is it will auto-generate a REST API based on your DB schema. So I created a simple example here to kind of show you what this looks like. A pretty common one I've seen happen with people is they're wanting to cache data because their RMM doesn't execute scripts fast enough, and they're trying to make the form rendering experience better. So say you're syncing users to a table or something like that, you could just create a DB table here. And what happens is it will generate a REST API around it. So you could leverage, similar to leveraging a local database, you can still issue SQL queries if you want. If your team's not familiar with SQL, you could then take this and build out a custom integration in Rewst around it. So what that ends up looking like is you could call it whatever you want, and you could have custom actions specific to each DB table. So like in the case of syncing users, you could have actions specific for pulling the users, updating the users, upserting data, things like that. And then your team could leverage those actions without having to know really anything about SQL. I think that's probably one of the more interesting use cases when it comes to leveraging this as a caching solution. A lot of people will integrate with a local database or something like that, and maybe their guys just aren't super familiar with writing SQL queries, and this helps out a lot in that regard. It's pretty straightforward. When you do it, it auto-generates the documentation for your REST API. So if you're wondering what resource you have available, you can just go and look. And then if we look here, I got an empty table. I'll go ahead and run it, and we'll see if it actually updates. So I got my response. Should have updated it with all my test users here. And it did. So I could run this on a continual sync and upsert data just like any other database. Don't have to worry about hosting it, and I don't have to worry about training people up on writing SQL queries. They could just reuse the actions in various different workflows. So I think it's a pretty interesting solution. There's a lot of other capabilities you could leverage it for that may or may not be useful to you. But I just wanted to bring awareness to this as one more solution people could leverage for caching things not ignored variables. That's really useful.
Awesome. How do you find, is this all on their free, you're still using their free tier at this point?
Yeah, the free tier is pretty generous. I mean, you would have to really be beating up the free tier. If you're using it like this to cache data and work from workflows and things like that, you'd have to be beating it up pretty hard to surpass the free tier.
Yeah. I think I started using it for some function apps because it's also so easy to make those, especially when you're
the edge functions.
The edge functions. Oh,
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. But then all of a sudden I was like, where did this $80 bill come from? And I was like, oh, maybe I should pay attention to that.
No, I've abused it quite a bit, and I think the free tier, unlimited API requests, quite a bit of data. So
That's cool.
if you go beyond that, I still can't imagine it being more than $50 to $100 a month for a pretty heavy use case.
That's pretty cool. All right, thank you, Lucas. Anybody have any other questions? Otherwise,
I love you, Lucas.
Andrew, got a question?
Yeah, I put it in chat there, but are you creating a new custom integration for each of the tables since it's spitting out
No.
It's just a single.
So it's a single key per DB. And you could also you could enable RLS and things like that and scope keys if you really wanted to get into that.
Right.
But you don't need to make a new integration per table.
Okay, so it's just one custom integration that you set up with the docs, and then you
set up the basic API key, and then as you create new tables, it'll auto generate the the rest, and then you can just go and create actions based on that.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you. All right, so now we are going to have Gareth. Gareth's got something for us. It's been a while since you've been demoing here, but yeah, welcome back. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely been a little bit of time, and well, fingers crossed. What I'm about to kind of show everybody. There's a couple of options, but the reason why I want to show this is because it's something I'm actually going to share on Monday as well in Discord once I finish it. So another thing, kind of like what Luke said about a lot of questions that we get from essentially other MSPs and stuff like that, is about TAP. So essentially, we all know how awesome TAP is. And basically, it's a little bit annoying going through each individual client, check and see if they've got their P1 or higher licenses, and then going to enable it and stuff like that. So essentially, I've automated that. So I'm going to quickly share my screen. God, TAP's been a while. I haven't been this nervous for a bit. So can everybody see my screen okay? Perfect. So, I'm going to quickly just show here. Obviously, this is a Sandbox 365. You can see that temporary access pass is off, and yeah, essentially this is the workflow. I'll quickly kind of go through it. So this kind of uses it's kind of everything here is pretty straightforward. So essentially this is just going off to check to see if they have premium licenses or P1 or higher licenses. If they have, awesome, it will carry on, and then from there it'll essentially check to see, okay, have they got TAP, haven't they got TAP? If they have, then it'll not do anything. If they haven't, then essentially when it's going to turn it on. So yeah, it'll simply come and create a ticket, go and do the actual changes itself, break down a summary, and update a ticket to show that's been enabled. So fingers crossed, if this should work straight away. Again, this is only my test environment. Doesn't take all too long to run. It's pretty straightforward. And this is one of two parts. And again, what I'm showing you now is something I'm going to release in Discord as well for everybody to kind of go through. So if we load up here again now, and there you go, look, it's just nice, simply turned it on. Now, inside this, obviously, you can mess around with it a little bit more, something that I'm also going to do, so you can exclude, global admins, so you can't do it with global admins and everything else. That's a touch I haven't done yet, and something I'm going to do before, obviously, I drop this in Discord. But yeah, essentially, well, okay, that part's now done. You don't really want it where essentially your engineers are having to log in 365 every time to go and make this for whoever they need to log into. So I've automated that part as well. So this is really, really simple. All this essentially does is you select a user from a form, which is this form here. You kind of select your ticket number, select the user, and how long. Now, the duration is always going to be 60 minutes minimum. That's nothing to do with kind of Rewst or anything. That's just Microsoft. So yeah, this simply just obviously goes and triggers that. In this case, I've done a password push request, so it'll put a one-time password push link inside the ticket. Because again, you don't really want a naked code or anything like that. By default, I do have it where essentially, hang on, minimize that corner. I do have everything where it says is usable once. True. So what that basically means is you can only use this once. So you'll log into that account with that code. Essentially, if you log out and you need to get back in, you're going to have to rerun this. That's by design. I believe you can change that. But for me, that's best practice. So I'll quickly show you the form, and this is relatively quick. Let me actually refresh this, and I'll show you the full ticket in a minute. Rewst demo, how long? 60, leave that as it is. And there you go, 3 seconds. 3 seconds. It's really, really quick. And then if we go into here, and this is the full. So this is kind of it turning TAP on. As you can see here, it's picked up, how many entitled licenses you have and everything like that. Here, it's confirming it's turned on. Ignore that because again, I use ClickUp. So yeah, like you can see here, this is created. I'm not going to click it because obviously that code is going to be live. But yeah, essentially I click that link, it gives me my tap code. So essentially engineers are ready to go. And again, they're not kind of messing around because you've seen how quick it is, 3 seconds to run and that's it, you know. But yeah, that's something I will be dropping into Discord on Monday, just because I feel bad for not talking to you guys for a little while.
Thank you, Gareth. All right. So now we are going to jump. Is that my sound? Oh, sorry. So now we're going to jump over to Jeff, who has a workflow that he's going to show. I've been excited for Jeff to come on and show us a workflow, but it's not even the workflow I was excited about. So we're going to have Jeff back. So make sure that everybody celebrates Jeff after this showcase so that he can come back again and show us the next one too. And with that, Jeff, I'll jump over to you.
All right. Thank you, Ash. Okay, I'm going to show you a little demo of how Rewst helped us with a ConnectWise bug. We have 4 dispatchers for 4 departments, and we would have technicians reporting changes to their ConnectWise calendars. Basically, items that were scheduled at a different time, they noticed, that it moved. They didn't do it. They checked with the dispatcher. The dispatcher wasn't rescheduling their tickets either. So after some investigation, we had a couple people report tickets. We started finding the calendar sync source was rescheduling tickets on our technicians. Basically what happened is it was resulting in our technicians missing scheduled appointments. They were getting double booked, or the time allocated was shrinking. So I've got an example up here and I'll show you in a minute for what happened. So on the screen here, what it did is it took a resource that was scheduled for Saturday and then decided to move it to yesterday instead. So it changed the time from Saturday to Thursday. And because of that, we would have missed this schedule and not had any work scheduled on Saturday as a result. So our dispatcher caught it and went in and rescheduled it for tomorrow to get that work done. So after some investigation, we found Rewst could detect some changes that were being made to the ticket. And because there's 4 dispatchers for 4 departments, I had to build workflows for each one. But the workflow basically will go through and start looking at the tickets. We do it by our boards, and it just looks for open tickets. And then once it does that, it's going into the audit trail, and it's looking for different types of meeting, a resource, or a time entry. It wasn't just one of those 3 things. We found that we could have things where if you had a meeting scheduled using ConnectWise, it would appear in there, or we use TimesS for scheduling, or if somebody edited their Outlook calendar, it would show up. So we had to pull that in so we could adjust and filter out those items. And then as a result, we would go in and then go through this little list and filter out the audit trail to adjust for the time entries, the dates, figure out who did it. And we'd go through and then we'd generate a message. So our message would come out and emails our dispatch team, and it sends them a little email that tells them that the calendar sync entries were changed. And it tells them that, gives them a ticket and a link directly to the ticket. And it tells them what time it was. Everything in Outlook or everything in ConnectWise is UTC time. And then it tells them that it changed. So here's that Saturday reference where it changed it to Thursday, September 11th. So that's basically what the workflow does. Because we're open usually from 7 to 5:30. We have different workflows based on time. So when they walk in the morning at 7 a.m., there's a workflow from what happened from the night, end of day to the morning. And then it runs every 2 hours. So there's a separate workflow for that one. And then there's one that runs every weekend as well. We use this to collect data and then showed it to ConnectWise, and they've admitted there's a bug and they've escalated it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they've been having issues with Google Workspace calendar stuff as well.
Yeah, but a lot of times if you only have one record, they'll say, oh, it's just an odd thing, and they'll chalk it up to that. But I've kept one poor guy really busy with a lot of examples because of this workflow.
Yeah.
So that's my demo for the day.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jeff. All right. So that was the ones. Let me just see what we've got in here. All right. So I have two different things. So I've got something that I was going to show, which is the integration that I made with the Google Docs to have some of my information that I was getting from Discord sync into one of my Google Docs. And then we've also got our good friend Danial Dunky Jacobs Knowlton, our DJN. We're working on a cool nickname other than D-Dunk. You can call him that too. But anyways, anybody else has anything that they want to discuss or want to show off, by all means, you can interrupt or let me know. But I think a few people said that they wanted to see kind of how this works. So does everybody want to see the Google Docs thing?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, show us your Google Docs thing.
Just a little bit of interaction here, guys. All right.
Delayed from Australia. Please show me.
1 second here. Window. Can everybody see my screen? Cool. All right. So I know that this is a Google Workspace admin integration, but I then was playing around in my Google Cloud, and I was like, that's just like the same kind of API that they asked me to set up to do the anything that I want to do with Workspace APIs when I was like looking around on their documentation. And when I go to their product library, it actually shows me all of the different APIs that they have for everything, even Google Keep. And I was like, okay, there's a whole lot more here. So I was like, I wonder whether I can still do this, because I always was I left this integration alone because I thought that it was for like the corporate domain, whatever type. But the information is here documented, you guys. I'm a strong believer that documentation should be written in light mode. So if you want light mode, you just click on this little light bulb here. Oh, wait. That's if you want to submit a feature request. But I think you go here under light mode. Yes, there it is. All right, see how much time and energy, space and warning I gave you? Anyway, the documentation is very helpful. I actually went through it pretty intuitively. I was able to go through, I didn't have to do some of the things, but going in to get the client secret, once I created the project in the initial place, like I set up my Rewst integration project, and then I just followed the instructions. It was pretty easy from there. What I did, I'm going to take off light mode now. Sorry, guys. It's almost as bad as my when I was setting up my GitHub integration. So let's jump over to the workflow. So I actually was looking through the pre-canned actions, and none of them were like suitable for my docs, but their docs are actually super explanatory about how to get it set up. And it was like, oh, so there's like a create endpoint and there's an edit with that document. So I need 2 actions. And that first action was just the post to the document's URL itself with the information that I was going to give it. So I just hard coded this in while I was testing, but then once I was done, I integrated it into one of my other workflows as a sub workflow. So this is information that's coming down from the sub workflow for the title and the date to be the details. And then, and that's all. All I have to send it is what I want the title to be. And then I just say, yep, that document was created. I pull out that document ID. And then the next one was to send a post to the same endpoint, but just with the document ID at the end. And then there's weird ways that like when I was going through the documentation, that the batch up, like that the updating worked, but they had this functionality to do the batch update, which allows you to just send all of the information. So this was the part where I played with a little bit. I used ChatGPT to kind of help me figure out what mapped from the documents API and what I needed. And I'll show you what that looks like. This looks super friendly right now just because I have everything coming through in the contents for what I want that to be. And so then let's take a step over to where I actually use this, and then we'll see it run. So I have this other workflow where I want to collect information. I've shown this before, where I get info from a specific Discord channel. So I just go and get the channel details and get the messages from the channel. I do some fancy Jinja here, which knowing a lot of the information I know now, I could probably come back and like turn this into 5 lines instead, or make it into 2 different actions. It'd be much more intuitive, but I was being fancy at the time. It makes it really pretty, and it restructures everything. So that, and then I just do a loop through the pagination of each of those 100 and then pull them all together. And then there's where I had it going, and it was sending it to Discord channel just for notifications with the summary. But I was like, okay, well, actually now I want to send all that clean information off to this document that I just created. So I get the date just from now to format it how I want it. And then the title of the document becomes the whatever channel it came from with the channel ID. And then this is where the contents are set up. So I probably would need to go through, this is not good coding. Because I don't know what X is. This is probably made by something else. But basically I pulled all the information from the structured JSON, and I made it fit into the way that it would just look nice in plain text formatted down the line into my document. And so I'll show you what this looks like running. Actually, I already have one that I tested. And so this is just from the SIP chat channel. After I just picked a random message and I said, summarize these things. And so we'll let it run. And then you'll see what it pulls in. So it goes through and it gets the conversation information. And then I can see all the details about what messages were, but this is how it all looks, which is not very pretty to see a bunch of messages in. So that's when I just go through and I simplify that. I lost my pointer. Hold on. Oh, my mouse just died. That's funny. Okay, so hold on, using my other mouse. Then this is what my fancy Jinja turns it into, just really straightforward. If there were attachments, who it was from, what the original message was, and then it changed them properly if there were replies and stuff like that, because that's what you miss when you copy and paste a lot of times. But then my workflow ran to create my document. So first it went and it created the doc. Wow, sorry guys. Created the doc, and then it comes back with all of this information that you have in your API to go through. I didn't even go over to the docs, but it literally lets you programmatically build anything you want into a document, which is kind of crazy. I'm like, all I need is text. But but then it creates the information. And if I open up my docs right now, I didn't have my side window open here. 1 second. And there you can see, oops, hold on, that's not the right window. There we go. Sorry, guys. My screen got covered up in the middle of trying to show this to you. All right, here it is. Now I'll add it in there. Now you can see it. Channel, SIP chat, the ID, the time, and everything added automatically into a document for me without me needing to do anything. And the reason why I love that, if you haven't heard me talk about it, is because now I can take any Google Doc I want and import it into a Notebook LM workspace. And I can just keep a running list of my sources in my Notebook LM and ask it any questions I want and it'll respond in a grounded fashion. Okay, that was my demo. What did everybody think? I didn't look at the chat at all, so.
I missed everything you said after GitHub.
It's always been
I was
GitHub.
expecting somebody to call me out on that, and nobody did. That I could see it.
I knew you were rage baiting.
I just assumed you were making some sort of a repository for Jinja.
Yeah, that's that should be what. Well, there's.
See, that would have been correct then.
We should call that. We should call the Jinja repositories that. All right. So if anybody asked any questions or wanted to know anything, I did not keep my eye on the chat. So let me know now. Otherwise, I'll ask Dunk.
So next is a Discord bot that you can just tell it to create documents from a channel?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I've got the bot and I've got the thing, so now it's just making them kiss.
Cool. Thank you, Ash. I didn't actually expect to present today, so this is something that is just on the fly. Scared of teams. I recently created a new enter time for Rewst workflow form. So if we come over here and we give it a workflow ID and a ticket number and a start date and an end date, or a date time specifically, and submit it, you'll notice there's actually nothing on there about any information about what I did during that time. So Dan, I didn't actually submit the form for real, so there's no demo gods to be involved at least. So the workflow actually gets the patches using GraphQL of that last workflow and that ID and says, okay, show me the patches created since this date. And then it looks for the nearest one to the end date of when I submitted it. So now when it comes through, it will say, get the original ID, get the modified ID of the patches that came in from Rewst, get the actual workflow contents, get the modified workflow contents, and then sends it off to RoboRewsty. The same thing when you hit save or publish on a workflow and do RoboRewsty here, it's emulating this call. But for the specific patches in between the timestamps that I gave it when I submitted the form. So you hit submit there, it gets that diff and then enters the time for me. So if we look at what that actually looks like over here, it'll get the list of patches that came on that workflow since the times. It will get the ID of the last patch and the original ID. It will then get the workflows themselves, and then it sends it off to RoboRewsty and creates my ticket notes for me now. So it will create the markdown and a title. And because I just threw this together now, there's no actual enter time right now, but you get the concept behind it. So the really cool thing about the thing that really got me stuck for a little bit was the part that when I take this original workflow and store it into original and try to get the diffs on it, Rewst will try to render that as soon as I try to pass it as a variable here. So there's some gross Jinja in here that it took me a while to get together to say, all right, we're going to stringify it, and then we're going to pull it back out so that Rewst doesn't try to render it when I try to get it over into the GraphQL call. So this was my 5-minute throw together a workflow type plan. And now I can enter time on tickets and not actually have to think about what I did on that workflow.
Thank you, Daniel. That was awesome. Anybody have questions? I noticed we had another Daniel who also recommended showing off something quick. Do you still want to do that?
I can do that. Yeah, it's a pretty simple one we threw together today, basically. So we have a client, they're trying to go passwordless, like actually go passwordless. And part of that is making sure passwords don't work. And in the Microsoft land, there's pretty much 2 ways to do it. One way which Half does it, and the other way which Ashley does it. There is a Intune setting that you can turn off. You can basically say require Windows Hello or sorry. No, there's one in Intune where you can say go passwordless, and it just is kind of a general push, but they can still click like other user on the computer and use their password in that situation. And it breaks UAC largely. Like there are ways for it to work, but for the way we use it, it breaks it. The other option is on the computer, you can turn off the password provider, which is just a simple binary, or not binary, D word, but it's like a 1 or a 0 in a D word in the registry, and it takes its place instantly. Seems like a good idea. Well, we needed a way for the client to be able to turn that on and off for doing program updates and whatnot, and for us to be able to turn it on and off when techs forget the complicated registry path. So what we did was we created a simple form for the client. Let me share that screen. We created a simple form for the client. They can pick one or multiple computers and set the amount of time they want the password provider to be available. And re-enabling the password provider allows you to use UAC properly and all that fun stuff. So you cannot, like when the password provider is turned off, if there is no other provider available, which Windows Hello does not count as a UAC provider. If there is no other provider available, UAC it pops up, but it just has a no button, not a yes button or a continue or anything. It's just no. That is your only option. So this is just we wrote a simple PowerShell script. We have EmiBot going through and running that PowerShell script. So it is, I believe I have the template over here, is just like, hey, get this registry key, and it should be whatever we say it is right here in this variable. So very simple PowerShell. And so we turn it on, then we wait for a set of, we turn it on, we send them an email saying, hey, password's been re-enabled, you can use that for UAC, give it, set it back to disabled, wait a while before actually setting it, and then run the exact same command again, this time with the value of being a 1 instead of a 0. And then email the client again to say, hey, we have re-enabled the password on these computers. And it'll do it on as many computers as you got, and as many as you hand to it. Pretty simple stuff, but real good and useful for the simple task of like being able to use UAC. And it solves the problem in a nice little circular workflow.
Thank you. Andrew could really use a workflow like that. Any other questions? Awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you another place we use this, almost the exact same thing, and it's for power settings. We obviously disable the user's ability to change power settings, and our techs kept freaking out because they couldn't figure out how to fix it when it's literally just a registry key that needs to get tweaked for a second. So we created a form for our techs to fill out and say, hey, this computer needs an hour's worth of edit the power settings. And it does the exact same thing. So there's lots of uses. It's my point.
Love that. Thank you. So we are now at the end of our demos and scheduled programming, unless I've seen anybody say that they wanted to, I missed anything. I don't think so. If there's any questions If anybody wants to really like address any of those burning curiosities, Andrew?
I just had a question for Daniel about that workflow that adjusts the registry for the power settings. Did you put that in the? Are you using ConnectWise Manage?
Oh, we are using Manage. We don't currently have it creating a ticket or anything like that. We're probably going to do that, but we haven't.
I was just thinking that'd be cool to put that in that tech toolbox pod so that it's like you could just click the button. That's
that is
on
great
my
use
list
for the
of
tech
to-dos
toolbox.
is to add and fill out that toolbox with more useful scripts and automations.
It's a good idea. Anybody else have any questions or any inspiration that they got after today's demos that they want to share? It's been cool watching that thing go from like black to purple. Oh, Jordan says stay tuned. What's next? What's going on? Is that a next week thing, Jordan?
I'm not at liberty to say anything. All I can say is that the month of September should be interesting.
And it celebrates with me turning 41. End of the month. Which means that next year is going to be the best birthday ever because I'll be turning 42. Questions? I feel like a Corky Romano at the end. Questions. What is NUT sending a webhook to Rewst?
So NUT is a program that you can use instead of using like the APC or whatever branded software. It's software you can run on a like a Raspberry Pi to be a controller of a UPS. And so I guess this person is saying use a webhook on that to tell Rewst to create a ticket or whatever. That sounds like a good idea.
So basically, we've had these issues with the UPSs, and the network cards on them are extremely expensive, like $300-400 just for the network card. And these things are so underpowered. They're like 512 megabytes of RAM, like horribly underpowered, and they go offline. They're out of date. You know that they're lingered with security vulnerabilities, and then we have to configure each one of them for one of our biggest customers, which has several hundred sites. So we've been looking at trying to do some sort of central monitoring, central management, like an RMM system really for UPSs, because we have that many of them. And the problem here is that like those enterprise solutions cost a fortune. I mean, for Eaton, APC, all the big vendors, they cost a lot, and it's a subscription fee and all the other stuff. So I was like, okay, how about we just ship out Raspberry Pis to the sites, set them up to point to Ninja, and basically just run scripts to set them up, configure them for webhooks, and just plug them in via USB. And if they go offline, great, we have Ninja sending an alert. We can ship out a new one, and it's literally just unplugging two cables. So I've been thinking of solutions like that. And so we're in the beginning phases of this, but yeah, we're talking about stopping using some of those network cards because they're super proprietary, and I've seen them go offline, and they're super hard to get to because if you think about them inside of like SMB, like branch offices, we have to, like, I mean, a doctor's office isn't going to be able to reach to the back of the UPS, press the reset button, hold it. I mean, so then we have to send out field service, and that's a whole nother cost. So we're trying to simplify the way that we do things and asking a doctor, hey, unplug these two cables and plug them into a new Raspberry Pi is something we could ask them to do. So that's a huge thing for us. And for like Raspberry Pis, you get a ton more compute capacity than those things. So you can run like Docker containers on those. And like when you do like kind of like a Chick-fil-A model where Chick-fil-A uses their Kubernetes clusters inside their restaurants, thinking about doing something like that, and then really in the future thinking about like, oh, maybe we do DNS on the edge instead of on a domain controller or something like that, or even like spreading them out, because when you have so many sites, like 200 plus locations, we don't really want those single point of failures or having to set up a VPN or anything else like that. So that is that's just the backstory here. But we're thinking about using Rewst as a way of basically sending out notifications whenever the UPS loses power. So like, or if there's a battery alarm, we could send that over, because you can run a script whenever NUT detects something happening on the UPS, and then that script can call a webhook into Rewst, and then it could just generate a predefined template and say, okay, great, now we want to send out a quote for a new UPS battery. Here's the serial number. Here's all the information, because it sent it into Rewst. So that's something that we're looking at building.
That's cool. Michael asked, what NMN tool, network monitoring tool, do you use? Acronyms are hard.
It's a very old tool called PA Server Monitor, and we only use it because it's cheap. We got it for pennies, like on an endpoint, and we're trying to move away from it because it uses SNMP polling. When you're talking about hundreds of devices, it starts to get pretty intensive and doesn't really make much sense. It's just way easier just to honestly just create if there is an issue, just send out a request to Rewst versus constantly polling the device every few minutes or whatever. And then it doesn't really keep up either because it's pretty slow. So we're looking at moving away from them and moving into other tools. And this is just one of the methods that we're using. We use Meraki as well. So we have Meraki creating alerts through Rewst for our firewalls. So we're trying to really move all of our monitoring away from proprietary vendor locked systems into more open source solutions where they're just calling webhooks, because then it's way easier. Okay, my system's changed. Now I just update the workflows. Or we want to go from Slack to Teams. Okay, great. Just update the action. It like super modular and makes it pretty crazy and powerful and super easy and scalable to use as well. So
that's great. We'll have to get you on at some point to show us that. The top of the hour now, though, guys. We've brought it to the end. Thank you, Sam. Thank for the conversation. Thank you, everybody who's joined, and thank you, everyone who demoed. We'll see you all next week.
Meow.
Have a
Meow.
weekend.
Meow.
Meow meow.